Test.
Oh, you want actual like words? Test, test, test.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the April 26th edition of the Mapleton Council meeting. It's good to have everyone here today. And for those of you online, hello, we're here to serve you. I have a couple announcements. First of all, we just finished a meeting online with the Ministry of Education. Mr. Barron and I and Amy Gross were online with them, as well as Louisa Artuzo from the county and Tracy from the Wellington Catholic School Board. And we had a nice conversation with the ministry over there. The deputy minister was who we were talking to, as well as a bunch of the staff. And it went quite well. We talked about Mapleton. We talked about our need for childcare within the township, and how we are a desert within the county. As everyone around us seems to have childcare, except us. And we look at Guelph-Aramasa. Guelph-Aramasa has 87 childcare spaces, and they have a lower population than us. So we made sure that the ministry was aware of our needs, and that was a good meeting prior to this council meeting. We also are very happy to have received maybe a week and a half ago now, we received notice that our Moorfield drinking water treatment plan to refurbish and get that working better. We received just under $3.7 million in grant from the federal and provincial government for getting that forward, and we combined that with Mapleton's share of just over $1.33 million for almost a $5 million project for the Moorfield water section. So that's $5 million. That's $3.7 million that we don't have to go to the rate users to ask for to do that work, which is should make the ratepayers in Mapleton and Drayton and Moorfield very happy that we don't have to look for that funding. So that is going to be something we'll be talking about later on when we do finish up with the water and wastewater master plan. At this time, we're just going to call this meeting order and let's have old Canada. All right, we have confirmation of minutes. Moved here by Councillor Douglas, second by Councillor Ottens, that the minutes of the Township of Mapleton Council held on March 22nd, 2022 be confirmed as circulated in agenda package. Any questions or comments? All in favor? That's carried. Next on the agenda, we have matters arising under the Planning Act. And we have ZBA 2022-03. And this is moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Douglas. Is this the one here? Oh, sorry, I got this one. This is a public meeting under the Planning Act to hear comments from the public and agencies that give consideration to an application ZBA 2022-03 for proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Subject lands are located at 7321 Wellington Road 86. And the purpose and effect is to allow the expansion of existing home industry. Mr. Clerk, statutory requirements, please.
Staff can confirm that all pertinent agencies, ratepayers, and staff were provided with the required notice as per page 22 of your agenda package.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And now we'll turn over to Linda Redmond for our Mapleton planner for comments. Linda?
Thank you, Mayor. So this application, this property, I'm sure looks a little familiar to everybody. This has gone through a couple severance applications recently. So this is the retained farm. The landowner has severed the back, his farm in half essentially. So the back half is a separate farm now. Also happening on this property is the owner has a home industry operation that's been in existence for a long time and currently was restricted to one building. That's how the bylaw was written. It was a machine shop that was allowed to be located in one of their buildings. Since that time, the business has expanded into another building and also the use has changed somewhat. They manufacture padding and items like that for sleds and upholstery. It's an upholstery business basically for the Mennonite community, for their I can't think of the word, it's gone, buggies, carriages, buggies, sheds, all their stuff that they utilize. So anyways, he now wants to expand further. He needs more room for storage of his finished product as well as his raw product. So he needs to add on. He wants to add a building, so the two buildings become one. And then he also wants to convert another building on his property for storage. So that's why the application is before council today. And essentially, he's going from a building that was about, I don't know, maybe 2,500 square feet to an area that will occupy 11,000 square feet. Based on the PPS and the requirements for area of operation, which we are utilizing now, he meets all the requirements for that. He's under the 1 hectare area. His buildings all sit within that area. His outside storage is within that area. The only additional item is he wants to expand his employees by 2 people that will live off site as well. So we have no concerns with the request. He's operating now. It's been in existence for a long time. He's just expanding it, needs more storage space. So we have no concerns with it. It meets all the PPS requirements and meets the intent of the official plan.
Thank you, Linda. I don't see the applicant here, or is Mr. Solomon who's helping him, and nobody here in attendance from the public. So any questions from council? Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Planner Redmond. There's a lot going on this property. So I guess 2 things. Do we do a site visit as part of the a zoning change like this? And are the buildings already in place? Like, are we just at a point where we're trying to be conforming now or trying to get things up, or is he indeed just expanding in the future, or is it already in place and he's just looking to be in compliance?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. First question, do we do a site visit? Not always. In this instance, I actually did do a site visit. It wasn't a formal site visit, so I didn't see the buildings. I just drove up the laneway and had a look around from a distance. And that was the extent of my site visit. With respect to your second question, the expansion, they are utilizing existing structures on the property. There will be a minor addition, and that's in between 2 of the buildings. They're putting a very small addition. It's like a vestibule that will merge or join the 2 buildings. It's not a big addition at all. That's been included in the floor area so yes, they've expanded prior to getting approval, like many years ago. But they are expanding further under this application.
Thank you, Linda. Good question. Mr. Craven?
I'm not sure where it is in here, Linda, but it says somewhere this is under home industry, I believe. How big does it get before it's not home industry anymore?
So the PPS talks about a area of operation. So, and you can utilize up to a hectare of your lands, 2% up to 1 hectare of your farm area to have a home industry, or what the PPS calls an on-farm diversified operation. So as long as you're within that area, that's what drives the size. There's no building size. The zoning bylaw has a building size attached to the home industry provisions, but those provisions are from the former PPS that utilize that language. The new language now is on-farm diversified, and then it's an area as opposed to of actual building size that dictates the size of the operation.
Mr. Bowman? Yeah, we're just reviewing your application now. Thank you. Do you have any comments you want to make on this? Okay. Mr. Solomon? Oh, sorry, sir. Any comments you'd like to make at all at this point? We're just going over the application. Thank you. Other questions from council at this point? All right. This public meeting then is now concluded. So I do have here moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Douglas, that the planning report regarding ZBA 2022-03 Bowman Parts Lot 16 and 17, Session 1, 7321 Wellington Road 86 be received for information. Any further questions or comments from council at this point? All in favor? That's carried. So we just concluded the matter, sir. Thank you. Well, we'll let Michelle decide whether you're done or not. Michelle will meet you outside. All right. Moving on to item 6.2. This is moved by Councillor Douglas, second by Councillor Ottens, that the Township of Mapleton Council receive for information planning report 23T21001 prepared by Linda Redmond regarding Boomer Creek subdivision, Glen Allen, and that Township Mapleton Council supports the draft plan of subdivision dated February 2nd, 2022. And for that Township Mapleton Council provides direction to the County of Wellington Planning Department the proposed draft plan of subdivision 23T21001 be approved in accordance with the Township Mapleton draft conditions attached, and for that Township Mapleton Council give first and second reading of the zoning bylaw amendment as attached. Linda.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to say too much. This is not a public meeting at this point. It's the application is returning for council endorsement so that we can forward this on to county for their final draft approval of the subdivision. This came before council in September for the public meeting. Since then, there's been a couple changes to the plan that I will just mention here. One was the introduction of a park block. The initial application did not have a park in it. So that was something that council wanted to see included in this area. So they've added a park block to the subdivision. They've reduced the size of the stormwater management facility to accommodate the park block. And they've also provided a turnaround space for at the end of South Mill Road, which will be also part of the swim pond lands in the park lands. So that will provide some parking opportunities and some turnaround for municipal vehicles. So those are the changes. They're not big changes, but they accommodated all the comments from the township for that reason. There's not too much else to say because there weren't really any big issues at the time that the application was before council. There were some questions about some well issues on the adjacent properties. And also some comments came from the public about the road that was being utilized for the subdivision. They had a concern with the increase in traffic. But the South Mill Street is really the only road that can utilize, that this property can access. The other Center Street, I believe, is undersized and not capable of being expanded. So they've maintained that as their main access. The report also includes all the conditions that we are proposing as part of their draft approval that the township will send back to the county. So that includes all the conditions that address the well monitoring, the septic systems, stormwater management, everything that the township would like to see on the property. And also part of this is the draft amending bylaw, which is included, which allows for a reduction in the lot area for most of the lots. And also the requirement that they be suited with tertiary systems for their septic because of the lot being smaller than what's required for a conventional. That's all I have. If council has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Linda. The only question I come up with right away is I know that the County of Wellington had asked that Center Street be paved. Being that Center Street is not being utilized by this development, is it beyond the scope then? Should that be paved?
I think that's really, because it's a local street, it's really up to us to make that determination. I don't know that we've asked for it in our conditions, so.
I think it's one of the county's
Was that?
hopes. I think
Yeah.
it was in their comments.
Oh, request that Center
Yes,
Street was
request.
paved, yeah, so that's because of where it intersects, I'm assuming, with Wellington
With the
Road
county road.
45, but
Correct.
we haven't asked for it.
Okay, thank you.
Our engineer, our Director of Public Works doesn't think it's necessary.
Sorry, Mr. Martina, you want us?
Through you, Mayor. We have not requested that road be paved, but we can certainly have a closer look at it. And if the county would like us to accommodate that, we can probably put that in as a condition.
Thank you, Mr. Martina. I know that I think we paved one of the other roads in that area just because of the same problem with the gravel flowing downhill and getting under the other county roads. So any questions from council then? Councilor Douglas.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. More of a comment really on the homeowner's manual. That's one of the conditions. Just when it comes time to register the subdivision, if we can maybe expand that manual to include grading and sheds and things, because some of the issues we've had on other developments with drainage. And I think there'll be some tricky grading potentially out on this site. So hopefully we can get that covered off.
That was actually a very good comment. You're right. Some of the other problems we've had of late when it comes to drainage and water flows. Thank you for adding that in. Go ahead, Linda.
On that note, and also on the paving of Center Street, just for council's information, those types of details can be addressed through the subdivision agreement. So one of the conditions of draft approval is that the developer enters into a subdivision agreement with the township. And it's in that subdivision agreement that all those little details are addressed. So if we decide we want Center Street paved, we can add that through the subdivision agreement, as well as the owner's manual. We can, the owner's manual is required as part of the subdivision agreement. We can then decide at that point what kind of details we want to include in that manual. So the conditions that go back to the county say, we want all these things, but we also want a subdivision agreement, and a lot of those things get added into that. So we've still got more steps ahead of us that we can fine tune these matters.
Thank you, Linda. As long as we take note of those matters and we keep track of them. Mr. Craven.
Yeah, two things, Linda. Normally, if you do a subdivision in an urban area, you're expected to have 15 meters of frontage. I notice this one lot only has 10. I'm not too sure if we could make it have more than 10 or not, but is there a problem with it only 10?
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, so that one lot, it's because of the configuration and it does widen as it goes in. And we've addressed it in the zoning to allow for the reduction in the frontage. 10 meters is still adequate for a driveway and what you need to access the lot. So we're okay with the 10 meters.
Thank you. Mr. Craven, you had another question?
Yeah, and the other thing is that where that park lot is, it says is at the one corner of the subdivision. I wonder if we could move that, you maybe can't if you're going to have it on the stormwater management spot, because it may have to stay there with the stormwater management. But if the park lot could be moved a little closer to the center of the subdivision, so that it's a little easier for people to access instead of having to walk quite so far, especially if you've got kids going along on roads and so on.
Thank you for that question and comment. Linda?
So that was, it's generally good to have the park adjacent to the stormwater management facility because actually you end up getting more parkland because that facility can be incorporated into it. The other reason it's ideal to be at this location is because of the bulb at the end of that road. So it provides an opportunity for parking and better access for the general public to utilize the park because it's not just for that subdivision, it'll be for the whole hamlet. The other thing I should mention is that the fire department has asked for a fire reservoir for this subdivision, and that fire reservoir is going to be going in the park in the park property. Again, easy access for fire department to get to it, and also hopefully if need be, can utilize it for the whole hamlet if they should need to. So it's kind of a central location for the hamlet as opposed to just the subdivision. So that was part of the reason for the location.
Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I think I was quite happy with the responses of the applicant, especially around the parkland that's already been mentioned. And then I guess the second two comments would be, while I appreciate Councillor Craven's opinion on the parkland, I actually like it where it is. Some of the reasons have already been listed, but coming right off of South Mill Street, the rest of the neighborhood, if my memory serves me, we'll be able to use this park. The other park is on the far end of town. So while the development is going to be creating a park, it should be, this makes it nice, easy access for other people. And that subdivision isn't that big. If you can't walk from the far end of the park, you probably won't appreciate the parkland anyway when you get there. So I think I like it. And then as far as Center Street goes, the paving, I had noticed that too. I would leave that up to Sam, I guess, to determine how appropriate it is. Like, it seems a little odd, while I understand the need, it seems a little odd to attach it to this particular subdivision agreement. Because it's not being used as a point of access for the subdivision, and be kind of like saying, you can have your subdivision out here, but we want you to pave, I don't know, David Street and Drayton as part of your agreement, right? It seems a little bit clunky that way, but I'll leave that up to people who know about that stuff. It just seems a little bit weird, that's all.
And that's why I was bringing that up, because it's not being utilized by the subdivision, and here's the county in their dream. Well, I doubt that's ever going to happen, but yeah, we'd appreciate that, but we'll see if they have extra asphalt. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, anything else, Linda? You good? So then I'll call the question. All those in favor? It's carried. Moving right along here. We have no delegations today. No minutes from committees. And we go to 9.1 Building Department report, which I have here, moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Douglas, that the Township Mapleton Council receive for information Building Department report BD 2022-06 dated April 26, 2022 regarding the March month end and year to date. Those numbers are looking really good, Patty. And they speak for themselves. Does council have any questions? I notice that we're ahead of what we were last year, and last year we had a booming year. So looks like this year is off to a great start. If there's no questions, I'll call it then. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving right along. We have item 9.2.1, moved by Councillor Douglas, second by Councillor Ottens, that the Township of Mapleton Council receive for information Clerk's Report 2022-07 regarding a 2022 municipal election accessibility plan. For that council endorse the plan as presented. Go and turn this over to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing really to add, just an overhaul of the 2014 plan with a few references to our internet voting option.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So I'll open it up for questions then. Mr. Craven.
Yeah, through you to Larry. So does that mean that there'll be at least one advanced voting day here that people could come here and vote in person? And will they be able to vote here on election day in person?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, as the law says, you can't have advanced voting. I think it's till 30 days before election day, but certainly we're looking at October 1st as advanced voting, and they will be welcome here during business hours right up to election day.
Thank you. Any further questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. And next we move on to the Finance Department, 9.3.1, moved by Councillor Otten, second by Councillor Douglas, that the report FIN 2022-06 dated April 26, 2022, concerning the 2021 annual investment activities be received for information. Mr. Morrison, you don't have any good news for us in this one.
Through you, your worship. No, it was not a very good year. So the interest rates were quite low. I think this is a impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly in the first quarter of 2021. It was substantially underperforming, and even RBC has decided to arbitrarily lower the amount of interest that it's given us from the previous year. So we're down almost $68,000 over last year.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Questions, comments from council in this report of us losing money? Just investments, they'll go up next year. All those in favor then of this report? That's received. Thank you. Moving right along, we have the statement of council and committee remuneration. And moved by Councillor Craven, second by Councillor Martin, that the Township of Mapleton Council receive FIM report 2022-07 dated April 26th, 2022 regarding council and committee remuneration and expenses for 2021. And for that finance report FIN 2022-07 dated April 26th, 2022 is accepted as presented. Any comments at all, Mr. Morrison?
Through you, your worship. Nope, it's a statutory obligation.
Thank you. Comments, questions from council members on this one? All those in favor? Thank you. It's carried. And next we go to the item 9.4.1, moved by Councillor Martin, second by Councillor Craven. Township Mapleton Council receive for information fire report FR 2022-04, the monthly communique. Mr. Rick Richardson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're carrying on with our monthly information communique that we call it, the little bulletin updating everybody on what we're doing with years of service, with promotions, with training, with our number of calls and what kind of calls we're getting, just to keep everybody updated on what we're doing. Couple things that we're at the end of the communique. We are due for our recertification this year. That's the water tanker shuttle accreditation, which most of you are aware of, to get a reduction in insurance premiums for people that don't have hydrants and in the case of Moorfield, don't have hydrants, but don't have access to water. We have to prove to the insurance companies through a third party that we can flow 250 gallons a minute for 2 hours. And we've done that in the past. I think this is our third or fourth time, I think maybe fourth time we've done it. And it's a 5-year certification accreditation. So we're going to do that in July. We've set up that to be done. And we're fairly confident, not fairly confident, we are confident that we can obtain that again because it's been done in the past. And so it's just something coming up. And then the last page we have had the recruit class for Wellington County. We have 50 recruits in the last year's class, this year 30. And we had the opportunity of hosting a lot of it because Mrs. Flinkert at Flinkert Farms had told us we could use their house behind the main house. It was the employee house at one time, I think, for any fire training you want to do. So we've done hose lays, we've done search and rescue, ventilation. I think there's 17 different things that fire recruits got to sign off on by using this house. So we are acknowledging them, and we are putting an ad in the next 2 weeks. Wellington Advertiser, the county is, because it was a county thing. And we're also putting locally for the community news, thanking them for use of the house and how much we appreciate it. We are actually going to have a little plaque made up for Mrs. Flinker too, with exactly what you see here.
Thank you, Chief. And of course, in this communique, Chief always recognizes personnel, and here we have Matt Dross, 10 years of service at Drayton. We'd like to, council would like to thank Matt for his 10 years of service. And Scott Moore promoted to lieutenant. So congratulations to Scott being promoted. Any questions or comments from council? All those in favor of receiving this? That's carried. Moving right along to 9.51, moved by Councillor Craven, second by Councillor Martin, that Township of Mapleton Council received Public Works Report, PW 2022-05, dated April 26, 2022, regarding the 2021 Public Works Capital Program Quarterly Update Number 4 for information. Turn that over, right over to Mr. Sambatina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to council. So this report just summarizes the projects for the capital projects from 2021. We had 32 projects totaling $12.6 million. Of that, we had anticipated a positive variance at the end of the year of 1.95 million. But it turns out that our approximate positive variance turned out to be about 1.25 million. There's a slight mathematical error in the spreadsheet. You'll see that on the last page, but that should read about 1.25 million. Projects are complete and no significant issues encountered during the program.
Thank you, Ms. Bettina. That's a 2021 program. Questions, comments from council on the first of two reports? I'll call the question. All those in favor of receiving that report? That's carried. And then we'll move right along to the next one. Moved by Councillor Martin, second by Councillor Craven. That Township Mapleton Council received Public Works Report PW 2022-06, dated April 26, 2022, regarding the 2022 Public Works Capital Program Quarterly Update Number 1 for information. Turn back over to Mr. Bettina again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you again to council. So the 2022 capital program consists of 47 projects valued at $5.6 million. Of those 47 projects, 9 have been awarded, 16 are nearing completion. 8 are part of the water wastewater package currently being worked on by our consultant SEMA. 9 other tenders are being worked on by 4 separate consultants as well. 2 are currently being quoted for engineering services, and 1 is awaiting tender for the Township of Woolwich as a shared project.
Now we'll open this up for questions from council members then. Councilor Roberts.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just curious about the sidewalk repair program. Is that How do you choose which sidewalks are done? Is it complaint based or is there like a methodical plan long-term? And within that program, are there any plans to add sidewalks to areas that don't have any?
Mr. Martina?
Councillor Ottens, through you, Mayor. So to answer your question, in 2021, we had StreetScan carry out a survey of all the sidewalks. And all sidewalks were rated and given a condition assessment index rating. So we are targeting all the sidewalks that are in poor condition. We're limited by the funding in our capital budget. And at this point, so we've only identified the very worst. And we do not have any plans to add new sidewalk at this point.
Thank you, Ms. Martina. I know we did add sidewalk last year in the Moorfield area. So in part of our plan. Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Sam. Just even as a generalization, what's your assessment of like year over year costs of like raw materials and stuff? Are you still noting significant increases in the past year versus I know the year before was pretty significant?
Ms. Martina?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Martin. So far, so good. Nothing outrageously being experienced, but it's hard to say. You know, it's just one of those things that we've been lucky with the projects that we've awarded up till now. We haven't had any significant issues.
Just to help you out there, Mr. Martin, I know that the county has some up and downs with some of the projects, especially when it comes to asphalt. They've seen some of the prices being a little higher than what they anticipated. I know that Wellington North also, when they got a quote when their asphalt program, it was much higher than what they anticipated. That was something that was seen in the newspaper as well. So we haven't got to that yet, but as Mr. Martina says, so far so good. Other questions or comments? Mr. Martina, go ahead.
I should add one more comment, Mr. Mayor. On the operating side, we did have a contractor that has a contract with us that has asked for CPI increases. And then further, because of the fuel issues, costs, they've also asked for some kind of Canadian fuel indexing increases. So we're having some discussion right now. So we're having some issues with the operating side at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Martina, for that. Further questions or comments on this report from Ms. Martina in the first quarter? And we certainly look forward to the second quarter when we'll get some of those answers, Mr. Martin, when we get those asphalt prices on those two roads we got going on. So if there's no other questions or comments, I'll call the questions. All those in favor of this report? Thank you. And we'll move on to the 9.6, which is the Recreation Department, moved by Councillor Craven, second by Councillor Martin. Township Mapleton Council received Recreation Report 2022-04, dated April 26, 2022, regarding the expansion of the after-school program to include Maryborough Public School. And further, that council approves expanding the after-school program to include Maryborough Public School. And further, that council approves the agreement between Upper Grand District School Board and the Township of Mapleton. And further, that council approves the hiring of program staff. We got a lot of and furthers here. Amy, go ahead.
Good afternoon. We have been really excited about the success of our program at Drayton Heights, and we all know that there is a need to expand childcare programs within Mapleton. So this is a way that Mapleton is able to expand our program to Maryborough and help those families in Moorfield with childcare. It's not 0 to 4 yet, but this helps certainly take some of the stress off of families that need that care for their school-age children after school. We are hoping that down the road, we'll be able to add before school as well. We are waiting back from the ministry on permission to be able to do that. At this point, the request is to continue with the program that we currently have and expand it to Maryborough. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Amy. And I know what our conversation with the ministry earlier this afternoon, they seem impressed of what we've been doing to help the parents, the families out with our school age children. But of course, there's that gap of 0 to 4 years old, and that is our real need. Mr. Craven?
I think this program is just great. I hope it's successful in Moorfield as it has been in Drayton, so that maybe another year or two, we can look at it for Alma.
Through you, Mayor, to Mr. Craven. Right now, we would have to look at the growth in Elma. The school board has not identified a need there, and neither have our surveys at this point. Not saying that we would not ever include them, but at this point, there hasn't been a large enough need identified there. But we will see what happens in the future for sure.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Mike?
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize if you included in your report. Do you recall off the top of your head what the survey responses were? Like how many people were looking for after-school program out of Maryborough?
Good question. I know you have that number, Amy.
So the program will be able to hold 30 kids, and the initial survey, I believe, had us at already sitting at about 15 to 20 children without even advertising the program yet.
Mr. Craven?
Yeah, further to Alma, I saw a report here a little while ago, something with the school board, that Alma, the people in Alma, there's not that many in the school anymore. And they are almost on the danger list to be closed in Alma, that school, because of the shortage of people.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Craven. And I know that there are plans for some additional housing in the Alma area. Maybe that will assist. And it might be prudent upon the public school board to maybe change their boundaries a little bit as the Drayton and Moorfield schools are filling up, if not at capacity now, especially the Moorfield or so the Drayton one. And you were saying yesterday to me about the portables at Drayton.
Yes, through you, Mayor, they will be adding some portables to Drayton Heights this year as the school is, I would say, beyond capacity. They are only allowed to have so many portables per school, depending on their size, and they are definitely approaching that point.
Yeah, so that may mean some boundary changes. We'll see how that works out, Mr. Craven. Other questions or comments? Councillor Ottens.
Just a comment. I'm just impressed by how quickly all these programs have been falling into place. I mean, it was almost a little more than a year ago, we had none of this here in Mapleton, and now we have school care before and after in Drayton. We have it in Moorfield. We have summer camp programs. Like, it's falling together so well, and it's been so well received. And I just appreciate how quickly and effectively that's been put together.
And thank you for bringing that up, Councillor Ottens. You know, Amy, as you and I have talked before, the baton was passed to you a year ago to get some programming done within the township, and you've taken that baton and you've ran past everyone on the track, and we're just so impressed with what you've done in the last year. And just want to thank you as council for doing all that great work you've been doing.
Thank you very much. I'm very lucky to have some help with the department, and we really just love what we're doing, and we're happy to be bringing all of these things to Mapleton.
And please pass on to all your staff our thanks for them for making the programs worthwhile and people wanting to go and attend them. And I know you have other programs coming up that we can talk about a little bit later, but we're going to deal with this one still. Any more questions or comments on this report of expanding to Maryborough? I think it's fantastic. I think the residents of that area that go to that school will be quite pleased to have an after-school program to help them in their childcare needs. Any other questions or comments? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor of this? That's carried. Thank you very much. And Amy, I'm not going to let you off the hook yet. You do. I want you all back over here. I'm going to go off agenda just a minute here. You have some other events that are coming. You have something on Friday night.
We do. We have a youth social on Friday night for youth grade 7 to grade 9 at the PMD Arena. So we're looking forward to that. And then we also have a Mother's Day event at the PMD as well on Sunday. So both very exciting.
So the Mother's Day event, we'll go to the Mother's Day event. Who can attend that?
So really, it is open to anyone. You do need to register. So if you would like to bring somebody that's special in your life to celebrate them on Mother's Day, that would be fantastic. And it includes some DIY plants and a great music performance and lunch. So we're really looking forward to it.
So Mr. Craven can bring his wife and celebrate her.
If he would like to, that would be great.
Look at that. Look at that, Dennis. We can do that. All right. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to the next item here, item 971, which is moved by Councillor Martin, second by Councillor Craven. That Township Mapleton Council received Source Water Protection Report SWP 2022-01 dated April 26, 2022 regarding the Township Mapleton 2021 Source Protection Annual Report. The annual report is coming up right now. Kyle. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's nice to be back in person and to see everybody. I'm pleased to present to you this report on the 2021 activities for the Source Protection Program. As in previous years, the statutory deadline of submitting the reports was February 1st, and all the reports required for the Township of Mapleton were submitted by Source Protection staff by that deadline. A couple highlights in the report in terms of source protection review. In terms of source protection review related to development applications, building or planning, there were 42 applications that were reviewed. That's above the 5-year average for Mapleton, and that tracks with what we're seeing countywide. The countywide number has increased quite a bit as well, and is also quite above the 5-year average as well. We continue to do work on the inspections and the verification of activities within the wellhead protection areas. So we're at about 12 activities on about 5 properties left, which represents about 40% within the Drayton and Moorfield well fields. 19 inspections were conducted last year, predominantly around agricultural activities in the wellhead protection areas, mostly focused around Moorfield. Education outreach part of our program looks a little bit different in 2021 as it did in 2020 with the pandemic. In-person events have not happened. However, we've continued with some virtual, some social media, as well as supporting the Waterloo Wellington Groundwater Festival, Children's Groundwater Festival, which switched to virtual last year and will be virtual this year, and is hoping to be in person next year. So that was an event that educates. Last year was 6,700 students from across the county, Guelph and Waterloo region. And lastly, we were busy working on behalf of Mapleton, Center Wellington, and the county in regards to a water quantity study that was ongoing. We've reported to council in the past. So this last year in 2020, the public consultation and the policy development occurred and wrapped up and was submitted to the province for approval. And I'm pleased to announce that the province did approve that February 3rd of this year. And there is a small portion of that comes into the township of Mapleton. However, it does go over top of Alma. And that's so we will be working with township and county staff in terms of implementing that going forward. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kyle. Questions to Kyle on this report? I don't see any, Kyle. Obviously, your report. Oh, wait. You're not off the hook yet, buddy.
That's okay. Thank you.
Councilor Rottens.
Regarding Alma. We're good? All right. Thank you. Regarding Alma, then, are there any concerns regarding water quantity there? I know sometimes the residents have brought that up as a concern when there's some sort of development project proposed. So just, is there a way to reassure them that there is enough water there?
Yes, certainly through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the water quantity study and the water quantity area that's established is there to establish, is established because of the Center Wellington municipal wells. But what I would like to stress is that designation doesn't mean that there's not enough water. All it means is it's a flagging mechanism to ensure that the proper hydro-G work and water studies are completed on any new development within the area, most of most of that area is in Center Wellington. However, there is that portion in Alma, just to ensure that that the water availability is present for any municipal supplies that may get put in place. And that would also then, pardon the pun, trickle down to for private wells too. But yeah, I would like to stress that the study's results did not indicate any lack of water. It's more of a screening or protective measure to make sure that the water availability is there for the different uses that are permitted, both private and municipal.
Thank you, Kyle. And just clarify, Kyle, the aquifer that's in Alma, it then runs towards Center Wellington. So Alma gets the water first, then Center Wellington second. Just making sure.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you are correct. The overall regional groundwater flow does come north to south or northeast to southwest. So yes, that would happen. Although Alma does tend to have a bit of a slightly shallower aquifer than the deeper aquifer in Center Wellington.
Right. So we just know that Mr. Craven, that all the water at Alma sucks away that Center Wellington's not getting. So go ahead.
Bit of personal experience out in water in Alma. At times and places there's too much water in Alma. Found a fellow the other day that was saying that this is the first year he's had in 3 or 4 years that when he walks in his backyard, he can feel the water squishing in his feet. Yeah. But there's a reason for that, really.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, there's definitely different water bearing zones present in Alma and throughout the township, and some of what you'd be describing is more the surficial water or the ability of the water to not run off. But yes. Yes, absolutely.
Any further questions or comments? None at all. Thank you, Kyle, very much for your report. And I've read the resolution here, and all those in favor of receiving this report? That's carried. Thank you, Kyle. And moving on to item number 10, which is approval of bylaws. Resolution, here's Councillor Craven, seconded by Councillor Martin, that the bylaw number 2022-028 being a bylaw to authorize the use of voting and vote counting equipment, the use of alternative voting methods, to authorize advanced voting, and to repeal bylaw 2017-042, be hereby read a first, second, and third time, signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with a corporate seal. Any questions from council? All those in favor? Sorry, Councillor Craven.
Yeah, just to Larry again, I guess. If you get some people like me that are not very good with internet and computer and so on, there would be help here for them to vote online, would there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we're certainly going to have help here for people who want to walk in with their envelopes. We had several dozen 4 years ago. And they can also vote online here. We'll have a computer set up for them.
The vote was counted and that was passed. I didn't announce it, but I let Mr. Craven speak afterwards. Now going on to item number 11. And this is a Senior of the Year award. I'm going to turn this over to Helen. Helen, if you take the podium, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to speak about June being Seniors Month, and this year's theme is to stay active, connected, and safe. I want to use this opportunity to take a moment to acknowledge the vast contributions of seniors to our community. Their knowledge and experience is something that we can all learn from. Many times it seems that our contributions to society are valued by what paid work we complete. However, contributions go well beyond our working life. Many seniors are caregivers for unwell family members or adult dependent children, saving our healthcare systems billions of dollars each year. Many lucky families had said, thank goodness for grandma and grandpa when their children were ill and they had to get to work. In addition, many seniors contribute countless hours to their communities, volunteering, helping others. While this is an opportunity to honor one specific individual, Seniors Month in June brings attention to contributions that all seniors make to our society. As you're aware from previous communications, we have the opportunity to nominate a resident of the Township of Mapleton as Senior of the Year. I would request that council grant permission to move forward with the selected candidate.
Thank you, Helen. For those comments. Any questions to Helen or comments to Helen? I think it's amazing that Helen, you work with seniors all the time, and I know I've worked with them in the past, and they're just amazing what they do. You know, they work a lot of their life, and then when they're not getting paid anymore, they continue working for the community or for what their causes are. And we certainly do appreciate the seniors that we have in our community that do that. And I know so many of them, they get groceries or do childcare or work the arena door. They just do so many things. And we certainly do appreciate all the seniors in the community. I do have a motion here, moved by Councillor Martin and second by Councillor Craven, that Township Mapleton Council submit the nomination for Ontario Senior Award, a Year Award 2022. And I'm just going to ask Helen, do we want to keep that name secret right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll keep that name secret right now. In our communications that the email that council received, we have that name of that individual. So if council is okay, we'll just keep that silent, and we'll submit that nomination to the Ontario Senior of the Year Award. Any questions about that? All those in favor about receiving that? All right.
Okay. And I just wanted to add that it would be the plan that that person would attend a council meeting in
Absolutely.
June to receive their certificate. And also, just while I have the podium, just wanted to say we've really been working to reduce ageism, and ageism is really one of the last things that is acceptable to joke about. We don't have blonde jokes anymore, and we certainly don't have a lot of the other jokes that were considered funny. And we need to make sure that Mapleton is senior friendly and the whole area is senior friendly, and they really do truly feel valued. And also, we're all getting there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for the reminder that we're getting there,
Yeah.
Helen. Some are there. I wasn't going to mention that, Councillor Craven, but I can go to Shoppers Drummer and get that senior discount now. So yeah, thank you, Helen, for that information. And you're right. There's those jokes out there, and we do appreciate our seniors, and everybody should appreciate their senior. I know my mother is. She's 84 years old. Sorry, Mom, I told your age, but she's out working all the time, and I have to stop her from doing things that she really wants to do. She sees a boulder on the ground, she wants to go pick it up and move it. So, and we all have parents that like that. I know Councillor Martin's parents, they're quite active people. They're not seniors yet, but they're quite active. Yeah, they surely are. By definition, okay. But we all have parents like that, yeah. And family members, and I certainly do appreciate the seniors. And we'll move right along here to correspondence for council's information. Item 12. Anything that council would like to bring up, speak about, ask questions about, ask for more information about? Councilor Martin. And we're passing the buck over here, passing the baton to Councillor Craven.
Okay, I can say a little bit about Crime Stoppers. We're a non-government funded organization. We do our own fundraising. And the last 2 years has been pretty difficult to do that, but we have remained in the black. And I think, just off the top of my head, I think in the last 30 years, we're having a 30th anniversary next year. I think in the last 30 years, we have collected more than $40 million worth of goods through our program from tips, something like 35 million in drugs, I think, as well. So we're a busy organization.
Thank you, Councillor Craven. Councilor Martin?
And just to piggyback on that, then, the Crime Stoppers has a Cornerstone Award, and that went out to Brown Insurance Brokers who have a presence here in Mapleton, so we should recognize them as well.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. Yes, they are, they have a presence here, that's for sure.
You could have added that to my statement that the Brown Insurance does pay the insurance on our truck. We had to buy the truck out of our own funds. And, but the county does the maintenance and the fuel on it. So we get some benefit there. That's the only government benefit we get is the fuel and the maintenance on our pickup truck. But right after a couple of years ago, we had to buy a new pickup truck. And I can share this with you that all of a sudden, how are we going to pay for this? So we had gone to a dealership in Guelph and worked out a price and so on. And we're going to finance it. Then all of a sudden, under the clear blue, we had a benefactor donate quite a large sum of money to us. And this more than covered the price of the pickup truck that we had to buy. So that money is invested, not making as much money, but it is invested in term deposits sort of thing.
Excellent.
So we're actually in fairly good shape financially at the moment.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor Craven and Councilor Martin for tag teaming Crime Stoppers report. Anything else council would like to speak about? Councilor Craven?
I don't know whether this is the time or not, but
We're talking about these reports right now, Councilor
with the
Craven.
growth that's coming to this area,
Yep,
we're going to have a lot of new buildings go up. We're going to have a lot of our current buildings that are going to be renovated, I assume, as change happens. Should we, and do we have, first of all, do we have many heritage buildings in the township? Should we be looking at making some of our current buildings that are there into heritage buildings to protect the longevity of them, that without being heritage, somebody could come along and just tear them all down? I just wonder if we should be proactive on this and look into making some of them heritage buildings.
that's a good comment, Councilor Craven, and we'll certainly take back for staff to look at that. Thank you. Anything else? All right, moving right along then. We have no, any notice of motion? We have the notice of provision there, and we'll move on to other business. Item number 15. Councilor Martin?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the privilege of attending Navigating Conflict Relationships as an elected official. It was a virtual workshop that was pure, I want to say Municipal Affairs created that. It was funny, not funny. A lot of the people that were attending had been having or are currently having issues with, fellow members of council or mayors. So I was there as just looking to add some tools to my toolbox. So it was kind of nice to be on I could have used these tools about 3-4 years ago, but now is still a good time to take some advice from the workshop coordinator. And it was a 2-day workshop, and got to meet some really interesting people from Northern Ontario, Eastern Ontario. So right from the comforts of my own office. So that was kind of nice. And then secondly, the OGRA conference that happened a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago. There was a couple of interesting workshops. One was called Smart Infrastructure for Resilient Communities. And it was, or one of the speakers there was the longtime mayor of Stratford. And he was able to toot his own horn quite well for about 20-25 minutes, and just talking about all the investments in the infrastructure around Wi-Fi and around fiber optics and stuff that they did quite a long time ago, and the advantages that has brought into their community. So while it wasn't always like super applicable for kind of small town, there was still some really interesting tidbits about how Stratford has become successful and how that's been able to finance more of their the arts and some of the the other stuff that Stratford is known for, but it's taken a lot of work on the backside with the infrastructure to be able to finance that type of stuff. So that was kind of one of the workshops that was kind of interest.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Martin, for bringing that up. And I know that Councilor Ottens and I also went to a workshop at Good Roads that was quite interesting when they talk about the building up retaining walls or building up berms. And I thought it was a very interesting product. And Councilor Otten and I both thought about our flood mitigation, hopefully plans that come in the future, where they have these sandbag type of it looks like sandbags, but in the bag is sand and compost material, and they stack them up, and they have a system with metal grates in them that stack so the bags don't move, and then you can plant on top of this. So you can plant grass, you can plant trees, you can plant whatever within this, which only makes the structure even stronger. So I had a chat with that gentleman, and I passed it on to a CAO who's going to be speaking to them. I think it'd be really a good opportunity, not only for Mapleton, but for a number of projects. I also spoke to Don Kudos from the county on it, when it looking at showing up walls or showing up riverbanks or whatever, how this could be a great material to do that. And I know that I've seen this, some of the projects they showed were quite interesting. And I know that, I've seen these myself, and I was wondering why they're using type of the sandbag, but it's not a sandbag. It is a sandbag, but it's got the compost material in it, which allows growth within that. So something that we learned at this conference on that one. Marlene, do you have anything to add to that? That was quite kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's Trexiana was the name of the company, I believe, and I found what I really liked is how it added green space so naturally to, instead of having a big concrete wall that eventually shifts and moves, and that's the problem we have in Canada with our frosts, heave and so on. Whereas the root system holds these walls in place. So the more greenery you have, the stronger the walls become, and it's just more attractive, right? And they even planted willow trees in them because the root system of willows is very invasive, and that's good in a case like this. So found that very interesting, and I always enjoy seeing innovative products. One other part of Good Roads was one of the keynote speakers, and he was speaking, I think he was the one that was the confessions of a recovering engineer. And his main focus was, he said what a big mistake municipalities make is they build a road, they add things to make the road wider and smoother and easier for traffic, and then traffic's going down it too fast, and then you add stoplights and signs to slow down and all these things. So his basic theory was, if you have to put a sign on your road to say slow down, you've designed your road wrong. So his thought was, don't try to change the traffic, change the road. So I thought it was interesting that we do that all the time. We pave and widen and do all these things. And then you say, here's a beautiful road. Don't drive on it fast when it's designed to drive on fast. So just a different way of looking at things. So
that was a good session
Yeah.
by him, and his comments were quite interesting, being that he did that kind of work for most of his career. Now he's going
Yeah.
out talking about, maybe make the roads a little thinner.
Yeah.
And, slow people down by the size of the roadway, which is quite interesting when you go to a number of different areas, different countries where the roads are thin. And I'm thinking in my mind right now, Costa Rica, because I've been to Costa Rica, and their roads, you don't travel fast in Costa Rican roads that are really thin, because there's no gravel sides, there's no guardrails, there's just this thin road, so you don't drive fast. So I when you start talking about that, it just sprung into my mind of those roads that I'd driven on before. And just going back to those sandbag things, just for Mr. Bettina, instead of building a concrete wall, they build these. The 60% of the cost is what they're touting this to be. So it's a less costly, more green method of putting up walls or any kind of structure that this could be used at. Mr. Craven.
With you for a second, being in Nicaragua, which is next door to Costa Rica, the roads are not good either. And our group traveled in a van, And as you would travel along the road, you would come to a spot where there's a big pothole. There would be half a dozen kids there with a machete, and they would fill the pothole with dirt. Then you would drive by and pay them 25 Cordobas or whatever it was. And as you drove away, look at the back window of the van, here they are digging the dirt out of the hole again.
Great entrepreneurs there. One other item that we'll bring up, Mr. Bear and I did have a meeting yesterday with a company that puts fiber optics in the ground. And they're going to be coming at a future meeting to give us their plan. But the Rogers Cable has received funding to put fiber in the ground in Mapleton. And the amount of fiber they're going to be putting in is significant. They're talking over 450 kilometers of roadway in the township. And when they showed us a map, it was basically, well, Mapleton doesn't have 450 kilometers of roadway, so I don't know where they're getting the extra. But it looks like they're going to be doing significant work in the township in the next year, and they're going to be starting very shortly. But we're going to have them come and speak. We have a date for them yet, or not there? Okay, so we're going to have them come and do a delegation to the township so we can have more information on that. And the gentleman thought, he didn't know for sure, but he thought it was SWIFT funding that was paying for this, which would be more good news for the township of Mapleton. Anything further in the other business? We have a lot of other business going on here. Mr. Barron, you got anything for other business? No? Okay. Plugging along. All right. Now we'll move into the next piece, which is going into our closed session, item 16.1. Moved by Councillor Craven, second by Councillor Martin, that the Township of Mapleton Council move into a closed session to consider the following subject matters. Review and adoption of the closed session minutes, Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. Proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, and litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality. All those in favor of going in the closed? That is carried. We're going to take a 10-minute recess.